Hey everybody, this is Holly from Holly's Pandorium. I am in Washington State and I am talking tonight with Mike Paterson. And Mike is a bit further away than I am, but Mike has some very unique and special contact with Sasquatch in his area. And we haven't talked in 2 years, so I'm very excited to see how things have developed with Mike and see how things are going. And the last time we talked, Mike, you had these amazing photographs that you were allowed to take of close-ups of the Squatch in your area, and they were really sweet. Um, but I think you're one of the only people that I've ever heard of that have ever had a close contact with evidence like that. So can you share with me and everybody watching and listening what's happened since then? How are things going with your contacts?
First of all, thanks for having me, Holly. And as far as being distant, yeah, I'm in another country. So
Yeah,
Ontario, Canada, not Ontario, Oregon, or whatever it is.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm about, I don't know, just I'm north of Toronto.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, those photographs were taken by the property owner. He didn't see him when he took them. He heard him. It
Okay.
was it was like I think it was close to midnight, and he heard a giggle. So he pointed his phone. He was standing outside. He had
Right.
stepped outside, and he'd heard a giggle, and he pointed his phone because we've been doing this for a while, so we know, right? It's
Right.
something's going on. And he took a shot, and then a few seconds later took another one, and he still didn't see anything until he went inside and zoomed in, right?
Right.
And they're crystal clear. And I sat on those photographs for almost 3.5 years.
Right.
I asked them at first because I've developed written
Right.
communication with them.
Right.
I'm just delving right into it here because a lot of people don't understand the intelligence that we're dealing with, as far as Sasquatch goes, and
Correct.
their understanding of consciousness, and they're very smart,
Yes.
and they're funny too. But so I had asked them, "Do you want those put in a video for the world to see?" And they wrote, "Not yet." I expected them to say no way back then, right? But they wrote "not yet," and I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." And then almost 3.5 years later, I get told by them, I don't want to get into that detail, but I get told by them, "Mike, you show."
Hmm.
And by that time, I was almost ready to, like, I only did it because they basically told me to, right?
Right.
Otherwise, I was like, it's just going to be a pile of crap I got to deal with. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sure enough, I get the gorilla masks, the cheap Halloween masks, it's constant, right? But
Oh yeah.
I told people, hey, if that's what you think it is, show it, prove it, show
Right.
it.
Right.
And there's two of them because there's different facial expressions in each one,
Right.
right? Same
Right.
face, clear difference in facial expressions if you look closely, right?
Right.
He's got a full-on smile and a
Mhm.
grin. His cheekbones or his cheeks are raised when he's smiling compared to
Right.
the other shot. And those shots are 100% real.
Right.
Um, Dwayne has been given a full up close visual.
Hmm.
I think it's November, this past November. I don't remember the exact date offhand, but it took almost a dozen years for that to happen. Right? I still have not been given a visual,
Okay.
um, a close visual like that. That's for
Hmm.
sure. I'm hoping,
Hmm.
but what Dwayne experienced, it couldn't get any closer. It was so we know Neff is he's about 8 feet. I've documented over about 6.5 inches of growth on his foot since I guess the beginning of 2013.
Okay.
So
That's incredible.
yeah, with numerous different sizes over the years,
Right.
showing the growth, and then having it confirmed in writing, and that that's Neff's foot. And then excuse me, as of December this past year,
Hmm.
the very first visit with snow on the ground,
Hmm.
he knew I wanted to see his print,
Well, of course.
and
Yeah.
he gave it. You know, we were standing outside when it happened.
Right.
Suddenly, there's a 18.5 inch footprint,
Wow.
and yeah, he's a big boy, right?
Heck
Big
yeah.
man. I think he's about 30 years old, in that range. You
Wow.
know, human years, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
I was given his age at 25. I had asked, right?
Oh, okay.
And they gave it to me in writing on the chalkboard.
Hmm.
So, I've learned throughout this that there is purpose behind this situation.
Right.
Just from their actions, like being told to put those photographs out. Mike, you
Right.
show. It's
Right.
like they're telling me to show this. There's purpose
Right.
behind that, right? And
Exactly.
then the more recent thing, which also uh, confirmed that to me.
Hmm.
So back in 2015,
Hmm.
there was a lot of stuff going on with trespassing and um, stalking and harassment,
Yeah.
and I didn't know to what level that was going on until after the fact. But at that time, Dwayne, property owner, he pulled the plug. It was March 20th. That was last visit,
Right.
2015, for about a
Right.
year and a half.
Hmm.
And he, we were at each other's throats because he called it a hoax. He wanted it, he was trying to get rid of all the crap going on.
Of course. And
Yeah.
and that's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so he ended up calling it a hoax, and that, at the time, that pissed me off
Well,
because
sure.
it's not right. Everything I'm
Correct.
putting out is 100%, real.
Right.
And so we were at each other's throats for about a year and a half, and
Right.
and he put it out publicly that this is a hoax, and I'm like, no way, yeah, I'm not letting you get away with that, no way.
Right.
And so you know, we were not on good terms for about a year and a half, and then finally, um, I think it was maybe in 2017 at some point,
Hmm.
he, I had reached out to him probably a few times,
Hmm.
over that time, and he just nope, didn't want anything to do with me. And then finally, he gave in, and we talked, and because I didn't. This is absolutely incredible. This is a once in a lifetime. This is a Sasquatch researcher's dream. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
didn't get into this to be a Sasquatch researcher. It's just
No.
whatever. It is what it is, right? I'm
Right.
experiencing this stuff, and so he finally we had that talk, and he had told me, I can't stop this. Once you experience this, it takes over your life because you can't
Yeah.
shut this up.
Right.
It's every day for the rest of my life. Probably it'll be on my mind every day
Right.
at some point, or other. But so we finally we had that discussion. We patched things up, and we he told me about threatening letters that were being sent to his house, and
Wow.
there was a lot of stuff going on. And so I've been waiting many years for him to come clean,
Hmm.
being very patient. And I've asked him a few times over the years, and he said, yeah, I'll do it.
Hmm.
And finally, the last visit, we're sitting at the kitchen table, we're having a beer, like, just having a chat and a beer like we always do on
Right.
location.
Right.
And at one point, I just say to him, I said, look, um, can we do this? Let's do this, get this over with, put this
Right.
bullshit to rest.
Right.
And, it doesn't have to be on video. Just throw the audio recorder on, say what you got to say, and that's it. And I'll put it in video.
Right.
And after I was done saying that, it's an open concept in his cottage there. The living room's right beside us.
Hmm.
Neff, I, uh, I would bet the farm it was Neff and not anybody else.
Okay.
As in, any of their other family members. It was
Sure.
Neff grunted
Hmm.
from the living room in agreement to me
Yeah.
saying that. It was
Yeah.
like the timing was impeccable. He basically said, "Yeah, like
Yeah.
do it, get it
Yeah.
over with." So that right there again shows there is purpose behind this. Like, why would they do that? Why would they even care
Right.
if there wasn't, right? So, over time, I've learned that I can see this as part of their disclosure as a collective, right? And it's not that I'm chosen or something. I'm just selected as a human who has the right characteristic to deal with this and to put it
Right.
out there and to share it. And I'm definitely, there's definitely not the only one. There's a growing number of people having these experiences. And
Yes.
when I first started putting this out there, it took me about a year to really open up about their abilities that were going on.
Hmm.
And since then, I don't hold back really. I do a little bit. There's certain things that are not for everybody to know, right?
Right.
But it's I can definitely see how much of a positive effect it's had on the community as a whole in
Yes.
progressing our understanding and insight into Sasquatch existence. So
Right.
I get a lot of people that will comment that I've basically put us in the dark ages with this, with what I'm sharing, right? That the opposite, and it's like no, it's you know I'm talking the real stuff. So a lot of people have a hard time accepting that, but that's going to change, and it is changing. So it's all good, and I feel good about it, and I've been completely honest throughout, and some people think I'm being um, maybe I'm not intelligent enough to see that I'm getting hoaxed, or there's things it's like I've had over 1,000 encounter incidents with this family,
Right.
you know things that happen right in front of my face,
Right.
physical contact, and countless incidents of physical
Right.
contact.
Right.
I've recorded vocals indoors
Yeah.
many times. Prints appearing literally right beside me that weren't there 2 seconds ago. I'm
Right.
looking for prints. There's nothing. I turn my head, look back, boom, there's a footprint. Right. This has
Right.
happened numerous times. So
Right.
they are interdimensional. They are an indigenous race
Yes.
of Earth, and they hide because they're hunted by military and because they freak people out. And
They do.
so, yeah, they are safe in this space that they hide. Whatever military or whatever um, dark evil is trying to kill them, they cannot access them from what I've gathered in this other dimension where they hide, right?
Well,
So
I'm
just
glad so. But yeah, but your experiences to me were like, I understand why people respond to you the way they do. Honestly, Mike, I deal with things in a different realm as a psychic and a medium. I've had people treat me very badly because they think I'm full of crap, or I'm a fake, or what I do is nonsense, or I'm making things up out of thin air. And so I do get that. But for anybody that's been an experiencer, there's a different level of understanding. And so I experienced Bigfoot when I was 12 years old when I was camping. And in the last 2 years, I've experienced Bigfoot 3 times. And the most recent, I actually had a Bigfoot heal my stomach. I was having an incredible amount of pain in my abdomen and was completely miserable. And I had a female Sasquatch come to me. I keep trying to not say Bigfoot. I know they don't like that.
I was thinking that actually when you were saying.
Yeah, I try really hard not to do that. Just like I've encountered some fairies, and they don't like to be called fairies. They like to be called good neighbors. And so I'm trying to remember that as well. But I digress. So this contact that I just had recently with a Bigfoot, I did it again. Sorry, with a Sasquatch. She sounded a lot like the recording that you had where Nuff says your name. And Mike, that tone and just the kind of gravelly sound to his voice, I guess. I'm trying to describe it, but I'm not doing very good. Anyway, um, she said, Holly, I heal you. And I just went, okay. And I felt better. Like within minutes, I felt so much better. And I said, thank you so much. And I said, what can I give you? And she thought for a minute and then she said, apples. I like apples. And so my husband and I set apples out for her the next day, and she hasn't taken them yet, but we're waiting. Either Deer's going to get them or she's going to get them. But that was the first time I actually had more of a conversation, not just view, and I'm fascinated with them because I know for a fact when I was 12 years old, I'd never heard of anything like that. I'd never experienced anything like that. I'd never heard of any type of animal in that type of range of size or anything. And at that time, the Sasquatch that communicated me when I was a 12-year-old was incredibly gentle, incredibly kind, and just said, go home. You must go home. And I went, okay. And turned around, back in the 70s, I wasn't thinking about this is weird or this is strange. It just, the whole thing was shocking to me that there was something that large, that close to me. And as much as I felt intimidated, I don't remember feeling terrified. I just remember thinking, wow, because it was kind of like looking at a unicorn. What am I seeing? Why is this thing so large? And it smelled funny. And it was just amazing. The whole experience was amazing. And I agree that it's something that stays with you. As an experiencer, I don't have the ability to discredit anybody that says they've seen or heard something because I get it. People wouldn't think that I was legitimate in saying it. If I hadn't been such a young person, I told my parents I saw something and this is what I heard, from it. And we left the campsite that day. We never went back to that campsite again. It scared the daylights out of my parents. But I just remember thinking I was in awe because there was like a vibration coming off of this entity that was not like what I was used to. It was not like a person. It was not like an animal. It was more alive and had more of an energy of anything that I'd ever experienced up until that point, and even now. I mean, I'm fascinated with them. I think they're amazing. And I completely agree that they are able to go in and out of dimensions because that makes the most sense. Of everyone I know that researches them, that makes the most sense of how close they're able to get to us and not be seen and not be discovered. That's logical. That makes sense.
When I say things about them being interdimensional, and some people think, oh, okay, that's your belief. It's not a belief. It's a fact because
Right.
I'm in the thick of it. It's not one incident, two incidents. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of incidents
Right.
that have followed me, and I have witnesses, right?
Right.
Witnesses as well, and indoors, outdoor activity.
Right.
It just if I'm guessing on something, I will say that.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just speaking as a matter of fact.
Right.
So they are interdimensional, for whatever lack of a better term. There
Right.
are no walls with them. So I've had things happen in my vehicle, at home. They're with us at every visit, indoors on location.
Right.
They're with us indoors always. I don't even gift outside anymore. I gift at the end of the kitchen counter inside.
Do you?
Yeah, been doing that for a while now. The last two visits, I actually, James Bartley actually made this suggestion, and I tried it, and so I gave Neff a bottle of Fireball whiskey,
Oh.
and he took it, and then I did it the next visit, which was the last one, and he took it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm I'm giving some, I guess, unconventional gifts because there's a younger member of the family. There's a younger member, a male member named Ninyanan, who is really um, a lot more involved in the interacting.
Oh yeah.
In the last, I don't know, maybe a couple years or whatever, but so he's like following in Neff's footsteps, kind of, right? So
Okay.
others are there with us. We
Right.
just, and might get a little piece of their voice here and there. Ninyanan he's vocalizing slowly, a little more and a little more, right?
Right.
Like the last visit, actually, it was a dead still night, and I have audio recording through the sunroof in my vehicle,
Mhm.
and there's snow on the ground. It's basically minus 20 Celsius. I don't know what that is. I think maybe it's about minus 5
Sure.
Fahrenheit. I
Right.
think something like that.
I
It's cold.
Right.
It's
Very
cold
cool.
and crunchy.
Right.
So it's a single lane gravel road covered in snow there, and there's other cottages, and most of them are shut down, but there's still people that live up there, and there's still people that have their cottages year round, right? So
Sure.
there's always the possibility of somebody driving by or walking by,
Right.
and you cannot approach without me hearing you on the audio recording, right? I will hear
Okay.
your footsteps.
Sure.
No human can, you just can't unless you're floating in the air. I'm going to hear your footsteps.
Right. Right.
So that last visit, I'm listening back to the audio. Dwayne and I are outside. We'll come outside. We will check for prints, and check in my car, see if they've marked it up, which they did that night actually.
Yeah.
And then we go back indoors. I hear this all on the audio. About almost a half an hour goes by, and then suddenly I hear a foot move right by my car
Hmm.
on the snow, and then suddenly he starts walking.
Hmm.
So that was almost a half hour. Nothing came in, nothing
Okay.
left, and then he gave a little vocal, and that was Ninyanin, right? And
Okay.
he basically showing his abilities, right?
Sure.
You know, uh, it's been almost half an hour. Nobody walked in, but hey, now all of a sudden you hear footsteps walking around, and
Right.
so they do these sorts of things to just show their abilities, right? Like I've learned about their smells and all that. They create
Right.
them. They create them. They recreate smells. They turn them off and on like a light switch. They can direct them to an individual. These are facts, from experience, and not
Right.
one, two, three, 4, or 5 times. This is, you know, many times
Right.
to come to this conclusion, right?
Right.
I'm quite confident they can read our thoughts. I
Hmm.
just I've had things happen. It's like, okay, but I still want more, right? Even you know, and even here at home, I had a recent. There's a young male. I don't know his name yet. It's not
Hmm.
Neff's family. I don't know his name yet, but he's called my name.
Hmm.
And I remember in the summer, it was last summer, I think it was about 20 feet behind me. I had just done some video work out in the backyard there. I got woods behind me too, right? So
Hmm.
I'd done some video work, and then I come around the side of the house. I'm looking for my cat, and suddenly I hear my name called,
Hmm.
but he didn't pronounce the K,
Yeah.
um, might,
Hmm.
and maybe he's listening right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I could tell it's a young male
Hmm.
voice, right? That was about 20 feet behind me, and
Uh-huh.
I swung my head around. And I instantly knew what was going
Right.
on, right? And
Right.
then uh, the other, I guess about maybe 4 or 5 nights ago, or mornings,
Hmm.
I got woken up with a telepathic wah, and it was like, oh, that's an older one, right?
Right.
That's not the young male.
Right.
So, and I'm really good at picking up on their telepathy, I think, with being aware of it.
Sure.
They've not given me a conversation back and forth. I'll respond. I didn't respond on that one, but it always kind of it's shocking, right? Like
Sure.
I get woken up with a name call. There's a clarity on it that is just extreme, right? It
Yeah.
sounds like it's right beside you in the room, and
Yes, it does.
so when it comes to their telepathic mind speak, it's very clear, and you can tell it's not a dream or anything like that, right? It's very, very
Right.
simple to tell.
Right. But I agree with you that it's an audible registering in your mind. There's something very clear and sharp about it, like someone's talking in your ear almost. It's very clear. I'm very curious about them communicating with you at night. What kinds of things are they sharing with you?
Communicating what, like on location or here?
Yeah, just what are you experiencing? What kinds of communications are you having?
Like I said, I've never had a back and forth conversation with them. The last few visits, they've not responded on the chalkboard at all.
Okay.
But I will ask questions sometimes, and I get into conspiracy stuff too, right? And because I'm not one to be um, manipulated or gaslighted to
Right.
be made to feel foolish because I ask questions about
Right.
certain things that most of the human race will think is just ridiculous.
Right.
But I think, or I know, most of the human race is completely brainwashed, right?
Right.
They've all been MK Ultra, in a big, huge way too. This is long term conditioning, and I'm
Right.
wide awake to it. I can see right through it all, and
Right.
it's so I will ask certain things, like I asked about the uh, moon landing. They
Mhm.
said, you know, no, never left. Basically, never left the
Interesting.
Earth. Or I've asked about are bad humans creating tornadoes and just manipulating the weather to purposely harm us?
Mhm.
Yes. Um, there's a number of things. I'm not going to get into all of them, but uh,
Sure.
yeah, we're under attack.
Yeah.
We are under attack. There's a war on human consciousness,
Mhm.
and that this is, I guess, part of the reason why they are a huge threat, because contact with them, really expands the human mind and opens one up to. It empowers humans and expands human consciousness, and
Right.
so it's easy to see why they would be a threat to the evil on this earth that is trying to manipulate and control everything.
Right. Would you
Um,
mind taking a minute and explaining the purpose of the chalkboard and when did that start? Because you talked about it a little bit before, but would you mind talking about it again and just talk about how that got started?
yeah, it's so it started way back in 2013 with I remember I bought this whiteboard,
Mm-hmm.
and I use it's like a marker that just wipes clean,
Mm-hmm.
and I put it up in the woods. I made some, I can't draw worth a crap, so I drew like a Sasquatch and a human beside it. And when I went and retrieved it, they had connected the two with lines, and
Mm-hmm.
they had drawn some stuff on there. I can't remember everything, and I was blown away. And then that turned into a small little like notepad with a crayon left outside the cottage front door. So it started in the woods and then
Okay.
moved in front of the cottage. And then once we were realizing there was activity going on indoors, then I bought a large sketch pad and a chalkboard, and it was part of my routine to put that on the kitchen table,
Mm-hmm.
along with a camera, a point and shoot camera I bought for them to play with, which
Right.
they've given dozens of images. They can
Yeah.
impose images. They can manipulate all of our electronics, um, audio, cameras, video, phones, computers. It doesn't matter. They can
Right.
manipulate any of it easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this with like all of those, which I just mentioned, right?
Right.
But so after a little bit out front with that notepad. I moved it indoors, and that's where it's been ever since. So, I've developed communication over the years where I've learned that they understand what I'm talking about, and they understand through vibrations, through energy, what something means, and they know all language from what they say.
Mhm.
They speak a specific language on that at that location, which I could never find anything on it, and maybe they just have a different word for it.
Sure.
Um, I think they speak multiple languages. Like, I remember one piece from March 20th, 2015, the one where Neff says, "We love you," knowing that that was going to be my last visit for a while, right? And that was the
Right.
first time the big guy showed his 20-inch footprint, and he even put it
Oh,
in the layer of snow on the back of my vehicle
wow.
that night just to show his humor. And he's 12 feet tall, right? Full
Right.
grown adult, and
Yeah.
puts a partial footprint on my back window,
Right.
in the snow, and it just, it's funny, right? And
Right.
they, yeah, in that audio piece, I remember asking a question about, I repeated something that Neff had said,
Hmm.
and then he gave a response, and he goes, I remember it off by heart because it's nin chu tu da do da, and he does this really deep, and when I hear that, it's like that's language. He's answering me
Sure.
in language. That's
Right.
not gibberish.
Right.
And he actually, throughout that piece, it's about a 2-minute piece. He's talking about, I think it's about 5 different topics. Like I can gather this from, first he says Ninadadwa, and
Hmm.
I asked years later, what does that mean in English? And they wrote Invader Go. So that had to do with all the stalking and trespassers.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what that meant. And then, yeah, he's, you know, it's uh, it's just a communication tool
Sure.
with the draw. Like I've been given all kinds of drawings, and they've shown us and told us that we can do what they can do. We can go invisible, and I'll say this: I know for a fact we can go invisible. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I think that's what I appreciate about the things that you share the most, Mike, is because you're sharing ideas, and I think part of what I think people struggle with the most is the idea of Sasquatch is something that we've assumed is an ape or assumed is an animal. And the idea that this is a highly advanced, highly technically advanced creature or entity of some kind blows people away. That whole concept is so hard for people to digest. And to me, it makes a whole lot of sense. It explains when you talk about technology and how, why have we never gotten clear pictures? Because they don't want us to. They don't want us to see them. We don't see them. It's that simple. Their ability to cloak and stay hidden is completely by design. It's not because we don't have enough technology to keep after them. They just don't want to be bothered. And I don't blame them. For them to exist with the many generations of humans that have occupied the earth, they have to be very skilled and talented to be able to do that. And it just makes sense to me that they have abilities that we are not aware of. But I love that they're sharing these other ideas with you and helping you to see the possibilities and see what is possible and what can actually be done. That's amazing. I love that. So when you're in the car, you talked before about a couple of things that happen when you're in the car. Can you share again a couple of your experiences where things should normally would not be able to occur that actually happened while you were in your car?
One incident was I'll go, I'm checking my vehicle to make sure the batteries, the audio recorder's running, right? I don't want
Right.
it to die on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I checked that numerous times throughout the night. And so I jump in my vehicle at one point, doing a battery change. Suddenly I hear a marble. Marbles have been huge I bring marbles home every visit, right? So
Okay.
I've seen these things come out of thin air, right? They all come out of thin air, but they've
Okay.
actually It allowed me to see it even. But anyway, so I'm sitting in my vehicle doing a battery change, and suddenly I hear a marble crack off the window, and I thought it was on the outside, and then I realized it landed on the floor on the passenger's side.
Right.
I was like, wow. And I have a center console, so I reached down, I grabbed that marble, and
Right.
then I had this little tiny little change thing in the center console. Suddenly, another marble, boom, lands right in that. Perfect. It's like, well, you got to be in the car. You can't throw that from outside.
Right.
And then that was one incident. There's been numerous other ones, but the other, another big one was I was running a dash cam, and Dwayne and I had taken a drive down one of the back roads, on one of our visits. And when we do that, we have company. We always have company. So I actually, at one point, there was a short vocal in the car, and I caught it on my dash cam on the audio. And when it happened, it took a few seconds, and I'm thinking, that wasn't Dwayne. And I said, did you just, I can't remember what the vocal was.
Right.
And he laughed. He goes, I thought that was you. And and then we, talking about it and all that. But
Right.
yeah, it's there's been other other incidents with another witness as well, and so they just show me that they can go wherever they want. I've had activity show up at a workplace, and then I go outside to my vehicle, and I had a hand woven gift which was hanging from my rear view mirror. It had been wrapped around. My car was locked, so they confirmed the smell indoors that was around me at the time.
Okay.
Which was the smell of crap, that them being funny, because it had just happened on location the last visit, that same smell, and then it showed up at work to the point where I could lift my boots and look at the bottom of my boots, and
Oh, funny.
there's nothing there, and then I go out to my vehicle later, and it's like the thing's wrapped around my mirror, and say, okay, I figured that, right? So they can, once you connect to them, they can find you anywhere, and the only thing that makes sense is through consciousness, right?
Right. Definitely. So what is the thing that you've been most surprised by in the last couple of years that you've noticed?
It's not, it's not that I'm always surprised, but I'm not.
Okay.
Right? I've been given so much experience at this point. One of the biggest things that surprised me didn't even have to do with them, I don't think, and that was last November. I got contacted basically by a cop who has a cabin up in the Lost Channel area of Ontario, but about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours north of here. And he started doing CE5 meditation, and a couple years before, if you told him this stuff, he'd just completely dismiss it. Now he's full on CE5 and everything's energy, and but anyway, so we've been going up there a few times to his cabin, and it was we've been doing this meditation to try and call in a ship. And the last visit before he shut the cottage down for the winter, it was absolute perfect night, just the two of us there, and we did a meditation. We go stand outside on the deck. I think he was about to set up a telescope.
Okay.
And then suddenly there's this, it's dark out, and there's this glowing orb coming towards us in the sky. And we're like, what's that? And it flew right over top of us. And as it was doing that, we could see there was a hull attached to it that was not lit up. And as soon as they knew that we both saw that, they lit up the back end. And it was elongated, cylindrical, maybe the size of a football field, or maybe even two. I don't, it's hard to judge, right?
Okay.
And it was completely silent. It was dead still night. And that flew over. He managed to pull his phone out and grab some footage, right, which is on a video on my channel, Sasquatch Ontario on YouTube there. So
Okay.
It's the only one I have with UFO basically footage, right? It's in the dark, but you can see this thing light up, and
Sure.
then we watched it, and it flew over the trees. He went down there. He got down there before I did, because I ran in to get my video camera, and then oh, I didn't have a flashlight at the time, so I'm stumbling through about 40 yards of woods,
Right.
trying to get there in time, and I got there just in time to see it still moving,
Right.
still going straight line trajectory, and then it stopped.
Hmm.
It looked like a bright star in the sky. It stopped, and we saw it stop, and we sat there and watched it and watched it and watched it, and I kept measuring it against another nearby star. No, it's
Okay.
not moving. It's not moving. It's not moving. And we went back inside after, because it was really cold. We went back inside, warm up, come back out. It's still there. Do it again. Come back out. So it estimated it sat in the sky for about an hour, parked,
Yeah.
and then it was gone. So that proved to me that we can call in a UFO through our mind, through consciousness, through meditation. Putting that intent out, and it worked.
That's
And
incredible.
Sasquatch is all connected. All this stuff is connected. So
But I've heard that from a few other researchers, and I find that fascinating that there's such a big connection between a lot of things that we observe and consider paranormal. That's anything unusual and unique. There's a lot of people that like to separate, unidentified objects or Sasquatch things as being separate. And the more and more people are engaged in these researches for periods of time, we become very familiar that it's all connected. It's all very linked. And it's fascinating to me to keep hearing and finding more and more evidence to show that. So, Mike, have you thought about making a book with all of your experiences? Have you seriously considered doing that?
Holly, I started one way, way, way back. I wrote about 80 pages,
Yeah.
and at the time, that's when I was going through crap with Dwayne, so I was coming from a negative point of view,
Uh,
you know. So I threw that all in the garbage,
okay.
and then I started it again,
Okay.
after uh, I probably got 100 pages written now, and
Okay.
I don't know what my problem is. I just can't get motivated to finish this thing. I had written down notes for the first I don't know, bunch of months, right? Things
Right.
going on. So I was writing down notes, and it just got to be so much. I was overwhelmed, so I quit writing
Yeah.
notes. But I've taken all those notes and written those out. How it
Good.
developed in the beginning and that. So I know I do have to get this thing finished, and I want to. It'd be an accomplishment for me. Something I would definitely be. My little guy, he just scooted by there.
Yeah.
Um, I just I hope I can kick myself in the ass enough to get this done at some point, right? But it's taken a lot longer than I had hoped, and I want to do documentary.
I think you should.
There,
I should.
yeah,
Now, have you heard of Jay Bachochin? Have you seen his stuff on Amazon?
no,
Okay,
no,
so on Amazon, if you look up Finding Jay, I think you might be a really good person to talk with him. He's starting to release his third Sasquatch video, and he has not had near the experiences that you've had, but he's had a lot of his own that are unique and different. He's in Wisconsin, and that's the only place that he researches, and it's phenomenal. He has a lot of different close contacts and other things, but he published his own documentary, and I think you would appreciate the way that he does it, just because he's very direct, and he's very gentle about the way he talks about things, and he's just interesting. Oh, you have a friend there. Who's that behind you?
that's Gibson.
Gibson? Okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
he's
Is
such a
that your
cute boy.
guitar favorite? Do you love Gibson guitars?
That's why I named him Gibson.
That's
Yes.
what I figured. Okay. I figured as much.
He's su- he,
Yeah,
he's such a good boy. He's so cute, and
yeah, he is.
he's a rescue, and he's just he's a good little soul. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
if you could send me a link to that guy afterwards,
I
because
will
I
do
want
that. I will
to.
do
Right.
that. Um,
The thing with me with a documentary is my problem is I need to have control because I do not trust anybody else with the final output
right,
because I see how television works, how how they all work. They it's all for ratings and dollars, right?
right,
And I don't want anything omitted that I want in there. It has to be
right,
done how I want it done, right? So
right. But I
uh,
think for my own, for me, speaking for myself, honestly, Mike, the stuff that you share, it's not going to be for everybody. You know that. It's not.
oh
It's
yeah.
not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But that's not the point. The point is you're experiencing things that most people will never consider or ever talk about if they do. And that's kind of why I really hope that you do something, that you either do a book or you either do some other more involved thing, because your stuff on YouTube is awesome. But to me, YouTube is not infallible. It can be manipulated and, taken away. A book is something you can't take away. A book is like, it's there, you know, and people could do digital downloads or hard copies. Personally, I love to read, so I would love to just have a book with your voice of talking about what it is that you've encountered, because you're going through, Mike, your situation is fairly unique, at least publicly. I'm sure there's lots of other people that have similar incidences, but they're too scared to talk about them for the same reason that Dwayne was frustrated, because too much happens. And you went through a period of time where people were hassling you and really bugging you online. And I'm hoping that that's gone down or diminished greatly, because I don't want you to quit talking. I want you to keep talking about what you see and what you experience, because we need to know what's out there. We need to know what's part of our life.
Yeah, the hate that gets thrown at me, even though I put this last video out, the hoax explained basically why Dwayne said that.
Right. Yeah.
I still get people putting these comments in. They don't get through, which
Right.
is funny. I hope it frustrates them because they go into this approval thing because there's certain words that I have in there to flag
Right.
things that they will get
Right.
flagged, right? And I still get, oh, just do your homework. He's a hoaxer. It's like I really get tired of stupid. There's a lot of stupid out there.
Yes.
It's I don't want to sound condescending or anything.
Right.
I get really tired of stupid people.
Yeah.
Um, and it's but they don't deter me. In
Good.
fact, when they were coming at me hard, they
Hmm.
didn't realize all you're doing is driving me. I'm just going to shove it more in your face. That's who I am. It's like you
Good.
you, you think you're gonna deter me? No, I'm going to give you more. Right? That's
Right.
that's my character. I'm like you're not scaring me off. I'm not
Right.
going away. I'm
Right.
speaking the truth, and I have that behind me. So that
Right.
will always stand.
Good.
You just don't know it yet. At
Good.
some point, and I see how the Sasquatch operate. It's a slow development,
Hmm.
a baby step basis, as well as a collective, and in
Right.
exposing their people. This is not a discovery.
Right.
It's not a discovery by science.
Right.
We have Jeff Melton in place who's basically maintaining this Gigantopithecus narrative.
Right.
He just takes home a paycheck and gets invited to all the Sasquatch stuff, and I've dealt with him personally, and I
Have
could
you?
tell he's completely biased,
Yeah.
and it's for somebody to be put in that position, I think it's done on purpose, really.
Yeah.
Whether he might think or not. Um, at one point I had John Bindernagel and Dmitry Vaynov, both very prominent science minds involved in this subject, but they both passed. So I was, that was sad to
Right.
see them go, because they both knew I was speaking the real deal.
Yeah.
They both asked me to tone it down about their abilities, and I just like, sorry, I can't. Nope. You
Yeah.
guys have your thing, and I have mine, and I'm
Yeah.
not. Nope. And they respected that. You know,
Yeah.
I respected their position. Vice versa. They weren't demeaning to me at all in any way. They were actually very supportive. And I had actually a recent contact. I was in a group email with a bunch of people.
Hmm.
Meldrum was in there. If I left that long ago, because it's just like I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall in there. It's just.
Right.
But one of them had recently reached out to me. I just saw it actually yesterday in my email, and
Hmm.
he was asking me about a certain audio piece, and he's a wildlife biologist, and asking me if he said, I hope you're still doing this. And I responded yesterday. I haven't heard back from him yet. But it just, it's nice to know that some people, they keep that open mind. I'm just some layman. I don't have an education. I didn't stay in school, right? But
Right.
you know, all I see with that is just an indoctrination. It's think this and that's it. Don't step outside of that, and that's where I had a problem. So my education comes from real life and firsthand experience, and that's where I like to learn from firsthand experience, right? So I'm not a dumb guy. I'm quite astute and intelligent in my own ways, and I keep it real, and I have integrity. And this has been a hell of a journey, and ups and downs, a roller coaster ride. But I
Sure.
think at this point I've done pretty well with it. I'm not perfect, but I think I've done well. They keep giving, so.
Right. Well, and that's, I think, one of the most important parts is a lot of experiencers have a one-time experience, or something significant, but it's a fragment. It's a few seconds of an image or a voice or a click, a sound, a tap, whatever. But it's profound enough that it sticks with people. And to me, you've been blessed to have ongoing, continual contact with multiple Sasquatch, and the family unit that's connected with you. That's priceless to me, because that's giving you so much of a different perspective. It's not like one random animal running through the woods that people are hunting because they think it's somehow dangerous. I think that if you don't stop talking, we have to change the view on Sasquatch. There has to be an enlightening in our culture to respect them and treat them differently, and to perceive them in more of an elevated status than the way we look at them now. The commonality to view them as, number one, as a threat, and number two, as something below us mentally, none of that's accurate, and none of that's safe for them. I mean, they need to be viewed differently. And the only way that's going to happen is people like yourself and people like me that have different experiences, but they're better. They're better levels of experience, they're better levels of contact to help us understand it. We share this earth with them. It's not us or them, it's us together.
We're like a little brother, sister to them.
Right.
They're more evolved consciously. They're built for the earth. They are true indigenous earth people.
Right.
We're not. We're the only thing on this earth that doesn't belong, basically.
Yeah.
We do not fit. We destroy, we poison, we don't fit. We got to wear clothes and have heat, and they
Right.
are built. They are truly built for the earth, right? So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I asked them about the origins of humans, and I had asked them, did the Anunnaki create the human race? They said yes. So it's
Have they said why they made our race? Has that ever been answered?
no. no, with them, answers, and I've basically developed questions
Hmm.
over time to make it easy, simple.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For the
Right.
most part, yes or no, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. It's interesting that as you're going through considering publishing things, I think it's going to be interesting to see what you finally choose to share and what you finally choose is something that maybe people can understand a little bit, because there's a lot going on. That's This subject is very involved, and more so than people realize. There's so much more.
I've shared most of what I have, what I know.
Right.
Um, Not everything, for the safety of all involved,
Right.
and um, it's they've, like you said, they've blessed me with experience. And
They
again,
have.
it's my character. I'm
Hmm.
quite confident it's my character and my integrity,
Right.
and I do my best to maintain that. And because I know I'm watched by them, I'm watched
Right.
very closely. I You cannot lie to a Sasquatch and get away with it.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Right.
It's
But
not
that's as
happening.
it should be. Yeah. But I love that. But
Yeah,
that
me
what
too.
that means is that they have a higher standard and you've met that standard. So that is amazing.
I've also pissed Neff off, on, I don't know, a few occasions, I think,
Yeah.
and he's yelled at me.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how did you
So,
make him upset? What did you do that upset him?
um, oh, as far I can't remember exact details.
Okay.
Things that happened years back, and um, even just trying to pronounce something when he's trying to teach me something, and think I'm getting it right, think it sounds right, and he yells at me, right, and it's like, no, right. And,
But that's
um,
great. I love that though, Mike, because that makes sense. If you're learning to deal with an evolved entity, of course we would be frustrating. We're very naive. And so that makes sense to me that you would cause him annoyance or frustration at some level. We're very different creatures. We have a very different perspective and a very different life experience. So the fact that they're making such an effort to work it out with you and meet you at a level that you can understand and you can digest what's going on, I think that's amazing that they're working with you so well. That's incredible. So of course you're going to upset them once in a while. That's normal to me. That makes sense.
yeah. It's like I said, they've given so much over the years, and I do my best to just do this right.
Hmm.
You know, they it's a lot for people. Expect them to be a certain way.
Correct.
This is a big problem, that
Yes.
people have expectations, and I'm pretty adamant about that. I relay that over and over. You cannot expect things to be a certain way with them. They are unlike anything else we know,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And people think, oh well, they should look this way. It was Neff's nose in those photographs. Those headshots. That's a big part of why I was very hesitant. It's like, oh no, here we go, another
Right.
shit show of ridicule and insults coming at me, just like
Right.
the audio, um, because of the clarity on those headshots.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
nose, his nose is entirely unique compared to everything else, out there. Even though there's not a lot
Right.
as far as clarity goes with face shots, but there's nothing out there like his nose, and that caused me to ask them, do your people have different races like humans? And they said
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
So, um, you know, like I said, I know those headshots are real. I
Yeah.
trust Dwayne.
Right.
Dwayne has had a close visual.
Right.
Um, Even though whatever in the past, like when I went into this, I have zero tolerance for bullshit.
Yeah, sure.
Don't try to mess around. If you do, you're out of here. I don't want anything to do with you, right? So
Right.
I keep this real, and I've always kept it real.
Hmm.
And it's there's no need for any embellishment at all. It's just
Right.
it's crazy enough as it is, right? So
It is. It is.
it's a whole new understanding of reality. They have given a glimpse into just reality is not as we've been told,
Yeah.
right?
So if you could tell somebody that's never experienced anything unusual, um, that wants to understand what is the deal, how would you how would you breach the subject to help somebody understand what it is that Sasquatch really represents? How would you say, when you've never had an experience, and most people don't believe something unless it's in their face. We're very stubborn. We want to see evidence before we trust and know that something is real.
It's funny. Yeah, just yesterday I went to the pub for a pint there, and the bartender, I'm talking to her, and I don't care. I just throw it out there. I said, "Hey, you believe in Bigfoot?" I say Bigfoot, right? Because
Right. That's a commonly understood phrase.
just yeah, the more people will understand, right? I throw it out there to people all the time. I don't care. I'm very easy to talk about this stuff, right?
Right.
I don't care what people if people think I'm batshit crazy. I'm fine with that. It's
Right.
because I know I'm speaking the real stuff and speaking from
Right.
experience. So I asked that, and she ended up telling me that she doesn't believe in that stuff. She doesn't believe in ghosts. She doesn't believe in the paranormal. Um, so I gave her some information. I showed her or let her hear some audio, showed her some
Hmm.
footprints, and by the time I left, she's thanking me for showing her that stuff, right? So, it planted a seed there, right?
But that's great, because I think that's one of the most exciting parts about things that are paranormal. They're a little, to me, paranormal is aside from normal, which doesn't mean it's not normal. It's another normal to me. It's normal for me to see ghosts and to hear ghosts and to have experiences with things that are not part of day-to-day life for the average human. It's part of my daily experience. So I don't have the option to deny or pretend it's not real. I have too many experiences. I have too many incidences and too much evidence and too much proof for myself to ever deny it. It's part of my life. It's part of how I function. Um, I would love it if more people were open, because it would be great to be able to talk to more people about it and share. That's why I think these little podcasts that we have are invaluable. We have to keep talking. I want people to talk more about things that are unusual so that we can get them out of the dark, get them out of the secretive corners of our communities and our culture, and bring them into the daylight where they belong, so that kids can learn about things, that it's okay if something is a little different. It's okay if it's not something you're familiar with. Pay attention, listen, watch, observe, make up your own mind, but do it with an open mind and an open heart. The brainwashing, I agree, is rampant, and it scares me for our culture. It's not just here in the United States, but everywhere. There needs to be
We
a lot
are
more.
attacked from the day we're born.
Yeah, truly, I agree. We're told to dampen everything down that's natural to us, um,
We're
which,
injected with poisons to kill our pineal gland.
yeah,
We're poisoned. We're poisoned from basically all the injections, and it's stupid. It's
yeah,
stupid how many people are stupid to it. It's
yeah,
insane. Oh no, that doesn't that can't cause autism.
yeah,
The denial is insane. It really is. It's
yeah.
we are gifted as humans. We are powerful. We
Hmm.
are creators.
Yeah.
And there are people in power that know this stuff, and they do not want us to know. And
Yeah.
now they've cranked it up. We're geez, they're laying it on thick now. It's like,
Yeah.
but the Sasquatch know this, and I think this is basically um, a massive part of why they are exposing their existence to us, because they know what's going on. They know what's going on more than we do. They know about CERN,
Yeah.
that they're using CERN for nefarious purpose to,
Right.
release demonic activity on Earth, and that, I've asked them about that. Yep,
Hmm.
they are so aware of
Right.
all the nefarious stuff going on this Earth. Well, we just, it's all conspiracy, right? No, the Sasquatch know.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Mike, I have to close this out for tonight. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast again and chatting with me about this subject. I love talking about all these things, and I appreciate your time so much. And I will send you those links for the other contacts I mentioned to you. This is Holly from Holly's Pandorium, and I just want to say thank you for everyone that's listening and watching. Again, this was Mike Paterson from Ontario, Canada, and thank you, Mike, so much. We really appreciate your time. This was a great chat.
My pleasure, Holly. Thank you very much. And so Sasquatch Ontario on YouTube.
Yes.
That's my channel.
Yes.
I have SasquatchOntario.com,
Mhm.
which I don't keep updated like I should. And I also have a Sasquatch Ontario at yahoo.ca for Canada. If anybody wants to reach out to me, yeah, I
Great.
am always happy to listen and help,
Yeah.
people understand their experiences. So
That's
thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Have a good night.
Okay, you too, Holly. Thank you very much.